Today, we're looking ahead to EastEnders spoilers, airing from Monday 24th August through Thursday 27th August 2026. And there are 7 huge spoilers you definitely need to know about. This week is set to be particularly emotional, with Denise Fox's condition taking a terrifying turn, a mysterious half-brother finally arriving in Walford, and the race to find a potential stem cell donor becoming more desperate. But that's not all. We've also got pregnancy secrets, a secret paternity test, trouble for Amy Mitchell, serious worries for Ria's future, Alfie's huge surprise for Kat, and Oscar being given control of Max Branning's stag do. So let's get straight into the 7 biggest EastEnders spoilers for next week.
Denise Fox's half-brother Darnell Larson Jr. arrives as she takes a turn for the worst. This is easily one of the biggest storylines coming up next week. Denise's battle with blood cancer reaches an incredibly worrying stage when her condition deteriorates and she is placed into a medically induced coma. The Fox-Truman family are already desperate to find a suitable stem cell donor, but time is running out. Then, Kim discovers something that could completely change everything. While searching through an ancestry website, she finds a potential family connection, suggesting that Denise has a half-brother. His name is Darnell Larson Jr.
The family desperately tries to track him down, and Kim eventually manages to make contact with him. Darnell agrees to meet them, but he has absolutely no idea why the family wants to find him. When he discovers that Denise is seriously ill, he is understandably shocked. Although he is reluctant, Darnell eventually agrees to visit Denise in hospital. However, the emotional encounter becomes too much for him, and he quickly leaves. Denise does eventually show some improvement and comes out of her coma, but the good news doesn't last. Doctors reveal that her treatment isn't working as hoped. Jack becomes even more determined to find Darnell, eventually meeting him and his daughter Grace. And with Denise's life hanging in the balance, the biggest question is now simple. Could Darnell or Grace actually be the match Denise desperately needs? Penny Branning struggles with her pregnancy secret. Next, we have Penny Branning, who is facing a difficult situation of her own. Penny is preparing for the arrival of her baby, but she's carrying a secret that is becoming harder and harder to deal with. Vinny Panacea tries to support her and offers his help, something Penny reluctantly accepts. But instead of making things easier, it only increases her guilt. Because Penny knows there is a very real possibility that Harry Mitchell could actually be the father of her baby. Vinny even turns to Harry for help, completely unaware of the emotional pressure Penny is under. Meanwhile, tensions are also rising elsewhere in the Panacea Unwin family.
Eve and Suki are devastated when they discover that Ria's biological mother could be considering taking steps to regain custody. That puts even more pressure on the family, and it creates tension between Suki and Vinny, particularly when Penny's pregnancy becomes part of the wider situation. So while Penny is trying to prepare for motherhood, she's also desperately trying to keep the truth from destroying everything around her.
And next week, she's finally going to take matters into her own hands. During the community centre's donor drive, Priya and Jean Slater come up with a very risky plan. They secretly obtain DNA samples from both Ravi Gulati and Max Branning. The aim is to get enough information to carry out a paternity test without either man knowing exactly what Priya is doing. For Priya, this could finally give her the answer she's been desperate to find. But there's an interesting twist. Later in the week, Priya and Ravi reaffirm their feelings for each other. Both of them insist that they still want a future together.
Amy Mitchell is rejected and turns to Craig Ingram. Amy Mitchell finds herself caught up in yet another complicated situation next week. She's still closely connected to the fallout surrounding the investigation into Joel Marshall's attack, and she overhears some new information that pulls her attention back towards the case. But her personal life is about to become just as complicated. Denzel Danes considers asking Amy out, but after Howie's warning, he decides not to go through with it. Amy, however, isn't prepared to simply wait around. She makes the first move herself. Unfortunately for Amy, things don't go the way she hoped.
Denzel rejects her, leaving Amy hurt and embarrassed. And just when she needs someone to talk to, she unexpectedly crosses paths with DC Craig Ingram in the park. The conversation between them develops in a rather interesting direction. Craig suggests that they meet up, and Amy eventually agrees. Considering Amy's previous involvement with Craig and everything surrounding the investigation, this meeting could become much more significant than it first appears. Is Amy simply looking for someone to lean on? Or could her decision to spend time with Craig create another major problem for her?
Suki and Eve Panasar Onwin worry for Ria's future. Suki and Eve's biggest concern next week is the future of their foster daughter, Ria. The couple are devastated when they learn that Ria's biological mother could be considering taking steps to regain custody. For Suki and Eve, this is obviously terrifying. They have become incredibly attached to Ria, and the possibility of losing her puts their entire family under enormous emotional pressure. Then things get even worse. During Alfie's big event in the square, Ria ends up getting injured. What should have been a fun celebration suddenly turns into a serious situation. Suki is furious and immediately worried that the incident could have consequences for the custody situation. She threatens legal action, putting Kat directly in the firing line. The confrontation becomes too much for Kat, who storms away. And with Ria's future already uncertain, this latest incident could give her biological mother even more reason to challenge the current arrangement. So the question now is whether Suki and Eve can protect the family they've built before it's too late. Things take a very different turn for Alfie and Kat next week. Alfie notices that Kat is clearly upset after watching footage connected to Bert and Ernie's school project. Instead of simply asking Kat what's wrong, Alfie decides to do something much bigger. He remembers how happy Kat was during a holiday in Benidorm and decides to recreate that atmosphere right in Albert Square. And he doesn't hold back. Alfie goes all out, transforming the area with a huge Benidorm-inspired surprise. At first, the family are confused about why Alfie hasn't simply spoken to Kat about what he's seen. But when Kat discovers what he's planned, she is genuinely touched. The celebration soon spills out into the square, with everyone getting involved. Unfortunately, this is EastEnders, so things don't stay peaceful for very long. A community officer arrives and orders everyone to stop, with the Moons even facing the possibility of a fine. And just as Alfie is trying to calm Kat down, everything suddenly changes. News arrives that Ria has been injured. What started as Alfie's attempt to cheer up his wife quickly. And finally, Cindy Beale is determined to make sure Max Branning's stag do goes ahead exactly as planned. With Jack distracted by the crisis surrounding Denise, Cindy sees an opportunity to take control of the arrangements. She turns to Oscar Branning and asks him to organise the stag do. Now, handing Oscar responsibility for something like this might not exactly be the safest decision. Oscar begins getting the preparations underway, but Max is already feeling uneasy about what could be coming. And honestly, considering Oscar is involved, Max probably has every reason to worry. But the biggest question has to be this: will Darnell or Grace be able to save Denise? Let me know your theories in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more EastEnders spoilers, theories, and upcoming storyline updates.